Postman Pat. Postman Pat. Postman Pat has a very small village run but somehow sequestered a helicopter to do his round, is continually recovering errors that he made himself, and is easily distracted from his actual bloody job. It doesn't scan, but it's cold, hard truth. Yet this useless numpty somehow managed to get four ZX Spectrum games. 4. I'll tell you this for nout, lad. We reward mediocrity in this country, bayek. Postman Pat was created by John Cunliffe, the writer also behind Rosie and Jim, and it was directed by legendary animator Ivor Wood, who also worked on stop-motion classics like The Herbs, The Magic Roundabout, The Wombles and Paddington, some of which have had Spectrum games, yes. Its initial run was a substantial hit for a good 15 years, running from 1981 to 1996, and was a huge success, with people fresh from the womb, with that CBBC animation fame converting to vast toy and merchandising sales. CGI movies and series followed, with the latest episodes still being made as late as 2017. The plot, for what it is, follows a friendly village post person called Mr. Patrick Clifton, as he, along with his pussy Jess, delivers letters and packages to the folk of Greendale. That's the idea, but usually it ends up with him being roped into solving a problem for one of the needy types in the local village. The dude just can't say no. It's a nice trait, he's a nice bloke, but I've been waiting in for that fleshlight modelled on the vaginal lips of Vera Duckworth all day, Patrick, and I do not accept that you've had to go and retrieve that kite for that kid. Get that thing to me now, son. But before we get to Alternative's Postman Pat trilogy, let's surmise that the existence of a Postman Pat implies the existence of a pre-Man Pat. And indeed, this is the case here, as Longman Software put out a Postman Pat game a lot earlier than the others in the space year of 1984. 1984. No sex crimes. Longman Software were behind the original Super Ted game that looked like one basic bitch, but it played pretty well. And this also looks like a basic bitch. It doesn't play that well, though. Pat has to pursue various characters around Greendale in his van by following the trail of tyre or footprints left upon the road. I'm not sure if Greendale has recently had some new tarmac put in, but those tracks are very visible. The game is entirely at random in terms of where the characters end up, so even on the highest difficulty level, they could be just around the corner from the starting point of your post office. It's my understanding that the difficulty is attributed to how irritating the cattle that wander into the roads are going to be, as they can just sit there being udder having gits for minutes, forcing you to either find another route or just wait. Yes, the gameplay at times requires you at points to just stare at the screen and do nothing. Literally nothing. Animation is non-existent, with the van just chugging framelessly around a top-down, yet very populous with animals, Greendale. It's not particularly good, this, and probably worth giving a miss. Crash and Sinclair User both ran educational game sections with this game in, but they didn't give it a score. But I genuinely can't see the educational worth of Postman Pat's trial game. Are we trying to teach our kids just to stare at cattle for hours? Very peculiar. The first Postman Pat game by Alternative is, as the fabulous Super Jimtendo channel pointed out a few weeks ago, Grand Theft Auto Greendale. Please subscribe to this man's channel via the link at the end. Mrs. Goggins at the post office gives young Patrick his task, and off he trundles in his jaunty little van that seems to have some suspension issues looking at that animation. Reach an objective, and the perspective alters from the isometric view of Greendale to a side-on view as Pat discusses his task with the various needy denizens of this small hamlet. He can ping letters out of the side of his van, rather than get out and put them into the postbox personally, and if he misses, he has to go out and get them Quite frankly, that's what he should do. What a lazy git. When I say he's lazy, he's once again just sort of roped in by someone or other to do something completely unrelated to his day job. You'll need to avoid hazards like spilled oil and bicycles and wrestle with the sometimes baffling controls that will have Pat, which will invariably leave poor old Pat careening around this small village with its tiny little roads in reverse most of the time. Because honestly, it's much easier to do it that way some of the time. Woe betide any daft driver who ends up getting the post van stuck sideways on one of the small bridges though. You're going to be there for a while. You know that bit in Austin Powers? That. The tasks will continue, usually repeating until the time expires, and Pat's day is done. Also, if you fancy it, you can cross dimensions into the nonsense verse by going down to the bottom corner and driving past this tractor. Look at that! Postman Pat 1 is a perfectly adequate budget game for the late 80s 6-year-old, very reminiscent of the later Fireman Sam game reviewed a few years ago. Crash said that it's a fun game for a while, but once you've completed all the tasks, the novelty soon wears off. They gave it a 62% in their January 1990 issue. Your Sinclair weren't a fan at all. They said of it in their issue 60 that if you buy it for your kids, they'll never speak to you again. They gave it a lowly 49%. And well, I suppose it's a good way to get rid of unwanted children. Postman Pat 2 sees the delivery man temporarily stripped of his van and told to deliver the mail on foot, as hot weather has made the boxy vehicle briefly cough its last. So Pat has to trudge around in his full uniform, posting letters through doors as he rapidly dehydrates. Luckily, this can be combated via drinking tea, which will be given to Pat by the various good citizens of Greendale in exchange for returning an object to them. The local clergyman here has lost his torch, and by Christ the lazy so-and-so, he's merely dropped it a screen away. Could you not see that from where you stood? Arrows point your way to the next delivery door, which Pat foolishly doesn't and can't do in sequential order, meaning that he will have to deliver a letter on one side of the map before walking across the entire village to post a letter and then come back to deliver a letter to the original address's neighbour. No wonder the Fabio Capello lookalike is so utterly pooped. Sam will occasionally appear to offer Pat a lift to his next address, and Ted Glenn will creepily stalk Pat, offering to fix things for him. He's married, Ted. Stop following him, you creepy Hitler-tash dickhead. Chickens will, for some reason, decide to snatch letters from Pat's bag and randomly dump them all over the place. And overall, there's some solid ideas here. There is an occasional glitch where Pat will refuse to post a letter through a door, but once again it's an adequate budget-priced piece of distracting software for another younger Spectrum user. It's graphically okay, controls are okay, and it plays, well, just about okay. Your Sinclair were the only periodical to review Postman Pat 2 and gave it a 48% in their February 1990 issue, saying that the game seems a bit on the boring side. Correction, a lot on the boring side. They're not Postman Pat fans. Postman Pat 3, aka Postman Pat to the Rescue, is the final part of Alternative's Trilogy, a piece of software that completes the Postman Pat collection that Alternative would release in 1993. Pat's friend in the nearby city of Pencaster has gone and broken his leg, and he can't deliver the large numbers of phone directories. Yeah, phone directories, remember them? He needs to get them to the houses in that large urban area. So Pat agrees to help the city strongman with the equipment they need to rip in half to make themselves look all badass and cool in front of the women folk and Channel 5 audience cameras. While it's nice of him to help again, of course, Pat seems to be in a bit of a hurry, as he's half-heartedly doing the job by driving dangerously down the middle of the road and hurling the yellow pages out of the window of his van. A letter in a village was bad enough, Patrick, but these things are pretty heavy and the population is more dense, and you're going to kill someone, mate. especially considering the city is full of buffoons driving equally badly. Yes, we're in a top-down variant of Paperboy here, which has taken a noticeable drop in graphics, concept and effort from the other games in the series. Cars and vans will not leave you with much time to avoid or react to them, and it's a slow, dull and turgid experience that made me feel very sad. It's without a doubt the worst game that I've played in this collection, and probably one of the worst games I've played in the entire series. Your Sinclair reviewed it as part of their look at the collection, and well, they said it's marginally more enjoyable than trying to cut down the largest tree in the forest with a herring, and they gave it a 20% in their issue 87. So a poor effort to finish from Pat in an overall mildly average series of games. As fun as being a postman in a road full of starved Dobermans. With that, I double dare you, to watch the next episode. Double dare you. What could it be? Oh yeah, it's double dare. Okay, thanks, bye.